What's up, everybody? This is Pork Chop 118 here, and I kind of just want to come at you with a quick video about Joker. I just saw this movie today, and I really thought it warranted just a discussion about it. This isn't going to be a super edited video. I'm probably just going to ramble for a while and then edit it down to a nice, concise video with my thoughts about the movie or anything. Spoiler free until I say so. If I get to that, there's really no script to this video. I'm kind of just winging it. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Before I say my thoughts on it, like if you want my base opinion, should you see this or not? Yes, go see Joker. It's 100% worth it. It's one of those movies that is getting a lot of press, but it's one of those movies where it's like you have to just see it to understand it. It's not a movie where you actively want to watch it. You know, it's a deep dive into the Joker character. It's not like a movie where Joker goes out and fights Batman or something. The way I explain it to people is like you're not really watching a movie. Like you're not watching an action flick or anything. You're watching a man go insane. Like that's all you are. You're watching like subsequent scenes of like this man getting beat down over and over by society until he just snaps. Like it's a slow burn is kind of what everyone's saying, and I guess it is kind of a slow burn, but it's worth it. The impact of what happens is it's worth it. It's really hard to watch sometimes, and I don't mean like, man, I couldn't watch this. It's just like I know when I say that people are like, oh, grow up. I could watch it easily. I'm not saying like it genuinely scared me, or like I genuinely couldn't watch. I had to walk out. No, it's just one of those when you're watching it, it just makes you uneasy. Like there's certain scenes in this movie that are just uneasy to watch. You get attached to this character of Arthur Fleck so much that like you don't want anything to happen to him. It's not like they make you love him or anything even before he snaps, even as Arthur Fleck. It's not like they build him up to be this amazing character to where you don't want to see him go evil. You just know what's gonna happen and you don't want to see it happen to this guy because all he does is keep getting beat down. You know it's gonna happen, you just don't want to see it, and every time he goes into that dark place, like it's uncomfortable. Like some of these scenes are very unsettling. And I think if you did that for your Joker movie, then you're doing Joker right. That is the Joker in a nutshell. A Joker movie should have you thinking. It should be thought-provoking, scary, unsettling, uneasy. Like, you should feel uneasy watching this movie. And I really think Joker captures that perfectly. It's honestly a must-see movie. It's especially for DC fans. I think there's a lot of people saying that it doesn't feel like the Joker, and I agree and disagree at the same time, and I'll kind of get to that later. Like, I'll probably go into spoilers here soon. There's not much spoiler-free I can say about this movie, except for the fact that one of the things I really enjoyed about this movie was the score. The score was fantastic. The ambiance of the movie is really what sells it. Like, the characters and everything are great. Arthur's a good character. Like, it's fun to see him snap. And it's obviously unsettling to see it happen. But the thing that really, like, sets it in motion, that really sets it, like, cements it as unsettling is the score. Like, there's a bunch of times where, like, something dark and twisted is about to happen. And the score just gets louder and louder. Or it gets more, like more white noise and just like a bunch of stuff like that. And then there's a lot of times where like I felt like the audio mixing was off, but on purpose, if that makes sense. There's a lot of times like they'll be talking and like train tracks will be louder than the words or like the punches and stuff like that, and like the score and everything will be way louder than certain things, but it feels intentional. It doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels genuinely intentional. Like it's kind of building up that ambiance. I really enjoyed this movie for that. It really helps cement and solidify the themes they're trying to do in this movie. And it's a very thought-provoking movie. It's not like next Picasso or anything. It's not something that you're going to be thinking on forever, but it genuinely is a movie that you want to leave and start talking about. It's kind of interesting, even if it's not all political, even if you're talking about like, oh, what happened here, what that, like, it's definitely a movie that there's a lot to discuss with. Like, there's a lot of things you're going to come out of this movie, and if you see it twice especially, there's going to be things you notice. On a second time, there's things they reveal in the movie, and you think on it later, and you're like, wait, what about this kind of thing? I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. Honestly, for my rating, I think I would go ahead. This is difficult, because I don't think it's a perfect movie. I can't really think of a lot of things I dislike about it. Maybe I'll do another video kind of like discussing problems with it. This is just kind of my quick thoughts. I want to make a video essay eventually on Joker. I think this movie really deserves it. But as of right now, the movie's not perfect. It's really not. Most movies aren't. But honestly, I think I would give Joker an 8 out of 10. I think it's one of the best DC movies out there. It's one of the best superhero movies. It's great to have a superhero movie that doesn't feel like one. And that's coming from someone that eats up anything superheroes. Like, I don't care about formulas. I'm fine with formulas. But I do see when something shakes up a formula or completely breaks it. And I really enjoy it for that. We all heard Joker was announced, and people are like, why is this getting made? This is going to be awful. But we all like jumped the horse too quickly, and we didn't realize there was a story they wanted to tell. It wasn't a cash grab. There's been things going around saying that like Todd Phillips and them wanted to make like a movie about someone that snapped and an outcast and stuff like that, but they put the Joker into it so that people would actually like understand, so that people would be like, oh, I understand where he's coming from. It's the Joker. Like, this is a mentally deranged person. I can kind of, like, not connect with it, but they already know Joker as an established psychopath. So seeing him, like, dive into that kind of makes sense, I guess. But I don't feel like some people think because of that it feels tacked on. I don't feel like the Joker stuff is tacked on. I really don't. This feels like a Joker movie through and through. It's like they started scripting it as a Joker movie. It doesn't feel like at the end they're like, oh, let's make it Joker. And I don't know. So that was my spoiler-free review. I'm going to get into spoilers here in a minute. I give it an 8 out of 10. I highly recommend it. So without further ado, let's get into the spoiler review of Joker. I don't know why I did that voice. Okay, so spoilers. So, this movie's... God, this movie's insane. Okay, so one of the first things I want to talk about is the fact that, like, Arthur meets this girl, I think it was, Susie. He meets Susie, and they kind of start hitting it off. And I remember, like, I was watching the movie, and it stuck with me. Like, I was like, this is going way too fast. Like, this feels weird and disjointed. But I didn't really think anything of it. I definitely did not predict the outcome. But I knew that it felt weird, like she was just falling for him way too fast. So fast forward in the movie, Arthur finds out stuff about his parents or whatever. Like, I think that's after he found out he was adopted. So he goes into Susie's apartment and he sits down on the couch, and she comes out and she's mortified. She sees him, she's terrified. She's like, your name's Arthur, right? You're from down the hall. Can you leave? And then you're like, what? And then it kind of starts like clicking together, and then you see the montage of like all the scenes they've been in together, and then it immediately like cuts to another version of those scenes, but it doesn't have her in it. It's only Arthur. I thought that was amazing. That was one of the most thought-provoking things in that movie. And that's what I was saying about thought-provoking, because I know when I say it, it's just going to sound like political thought-provoking. But no, I genuinely mean narrative speaking. It's like really thought-provoking about like, okay, if that's not real, what is real? Honestly, I think everything in the movie's real. Okay, let me backtrack. So they go out of their way to show you that, yeah, Arthur hallucinates, he dreams certain things, but then they show you him waking up from that dream. They show you the fact that he was never with Susie and all that kind of stuff. So it's difficult, right? Because the fact, like, I know they could be like, oh, yeah, he's an unreliable narrator, which is what I love about the Joker, and I'll get into that later. Where they could be like, oh, none of this could be true. But I think the fact that we've had 2 instances where he's hallucinating, and the movie tells us that it's not real. Actually, like 3. Actually, you have the Susie thing. I hope her name's Susie. I don't remember. I remember someone calling her that. Whatever, it doesn't matter. You have her, and then you have the talk show where he has like the hallucination, like, it's not a hallucination, but I'm just gonna roll with it. He has that little like vision, like he dreams that he's on the show and like Maury's talking to him or whatever. And then he snaps out of it and you see him like in bed. That was predictable, but I don't really care. Like, that was fine. It was kind of cool to see too that like, oh, so yeah, he's a daydreamer. Like, he puts himself in like different scenarios. But then the next one you have is at the comedy club, and this one is like a double layered hallucination, right? Because this one also has Susie in there, so that goes to one of the hallucinations. But the next one is the fact that when he's on stage, people are laughing. And then, like, he's having a good time, whatever. They're chuckling a little bit. I thought they were laughing at him, but it turns out, when you see the actual clip of it, not from Arthur's perspective, like when you see the actual clip of it when Maury puts it on his show, nobody's laughing. I thought they were laughing at him, but no, nobody's laughing at all when he's doing his stand-up routine. So I want to watch this movie again and see like if there's more subtle nuanced things. And there's a few theories in this video I'll probably discuss. I'll give credit and say that I didn't think of every single one of these theories. Some of them I did, some of them I didn't. I can't source everybody, but I have had a lot of discussions with my friends about this movie. I went and saw this movie like right before work with a couple of my work buddies, and it was really fun. I didn't sleep at all that night because I knew I wasn't going to wake up, so work was awful. I was going to fall asleep, but it was worth it because Joker's a really good movie. But okay, one of the next things I want to talk about is the violence in the movie and how they handle it. I think they handled it really well, right? Because all the articles come out, they're like, oh, they're like promoting violence and stuff like that. But when you watch the movie, Arthur kills like 6 people, and that's one of the things I tell people when they say like, oh, I don't want to go see the Joker. Not for political reasons. Like when people are just like, oh, I don't have an interest in it. I'm like, it's interesting because he kills like 6 people in the movie. It's the Joker and he kills like 6 people. I just find that insane. And all 6 are like, well, most. Like his mother's death wasn't very satisfying. When he killed his mother, he just kind of suffocated her. So I guess, I don't know, it wasn't as satisfying. Or not even satisfying, it just wasn't as heavy as the others. But pretty much most of the kills in this movie are very weighty. Like, they have weight to them. Whenever, like that first scene, whenever Arthur kills the 3 people on the subway, that came out of nowhere. That was intense. It's like he immediately pulls out a gun. It's like it comes out of nowhere because that blast is immediate. I don't know how to explain it, but whenever there's a gunshot in this movie, it's like simultaneously. It's like immediately, and it's lightning fast. It's kind of cool, and they have weight to it. It's like in most movies, a gunshot doesn't sound like a gunshot. It's kind of muffled, like, oh, we all know what guns sound like. In this movie, I really feel like that has weight to it. like it wants you to understand that like this is awful. Like he's really going through something, and these deaths are catalysts for him to finally snap. I guess I'll jump to the end real quick and kind of talk about the talk show. One of my favorite parts in the movie. I'll get to like one of my like top favorite parts in the movie, but this is one of my favorite parts in the movie. So he goes to the talk show, and I'm pretty sure his name's Maury. And so he goes there, and they're talking whatever. He's like, I want you to introduce me as Joker. I thought that was pretty cool, but they're like, hey, you know, clown attacks got people upset or whatever. And Arthur's like, yeah, I just want to bring a little positivity. It's fine. So they're like, whatever. They bring him out. He does like this. Okay, backtrack. Whenever Arthur is in the Joker persona, it's like he... Okay, I don't know if y'all ever, like, feel the same way. Like, you know, like, whenever someone's wearing, like, good clothes. Like, if someone wears, like, baggy clothes all day or whatever, and then one day they wear, like, a suit, and suddenly they look, like, tall, and, like, they just look tall. They look professional. They look, like, bigger, right? Like, they look more noticeable. It's weird, but it happens. It's a weird perception thing. But that's kind of what happens in the Joker, because Arthur's a very skinny guy. Like, he's meant to be kind of like ugly and gross and sorrowful. But when he's the Joker, like, it looks like he bulks up when he's the Joker. He doesn't. I know that. I'm just saying, like, perception of looking at him as the Joker, standing tall in a suit with the makeup. He looks amazing, and he carries himself beautifully. I think I say this a lot, but one of my favorite shots in this movie, one of my favorite, like, reoccurring things was Arthur going up these steps every day, and he's trudging along, he's hating his life. Going up these steps are miserable for him. Like, there are some of the worst parts of his life, because he has to walk up there, he reflects, like, it's a long walk back home. But when he gets into the Joker persona, he's jumping down those steps, and he's dancing. He's kind of just like, the tone shifts a little bit. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like the lights get brighter a little bit, and he's dancing to the song in his head. And he's kind of like, I love that. I think it's in the trailer. I love the scene where, in that scene where he jumps into the puddle and starts dancing and keeps jumping into the puddles. I love that so much. It's like this new persona that he's got on when he becomes the Joker. He's more calm and more charismatic, and I love it. Now, I know some people are saying that they're like, oh, as soon as he stops taking his meds, he's charismatic. He's, you know, smart. He's essentially, the people around him are asking him questions like in that dream sequence he had when he was on the show. I thought that was interesting to think about, because, like, in his first hallucination, again, I'm just going to call them hallucinations. In his first one, Maury just keeps asking him, like, a bunch of questions so that Arthur can talk. And then in the final act, that happens. I believe it happened. I really believe he became the Joker. He killed Maury. He killed all the people. He became like a martyr to the people. I believe that, like, war on the rich or whatever happened. I really believe it happens. But I think it's interesting the fact that there's a lot of these questions that are left unanswered. Like another one. I'm jumping back and forth, but there's a lot of, like, unanswered things in this movie, or there's a lot of things you think have an answer, and then you realize the movie totally sets up for it to have a different answer. And I think that's amazing, especially since Joker is always, like, Joker stated that, like, not in this movie, but Joker in the comics, Killing Joke, whatever, he stated that he prefers to have his origin be a multiple choice. And that's what I was worried about when they wanted to make a Joker movie, because Joker has always been a character that didn't have an origin. I'm open to it. What does suck is that, like, there's going to be kids that, if you're a kid and you're watching this video and you've seen the movie, all I'm going to say is, please don't argue with people who say Joker doesn't have an origin. Don't say, oh, yeah, he does. You seen the Joker movie? this is just an interpretation. And even then, like I've been saying, like I'm going to continue saying as I get into theories, there could be a lot of different things happening in this movie. Joker doesn't have an origin. I think this is a good take on what could have been a Joker origin. But don't go saying that Joker has an origin. Don't argue with comic book fans because you've seen this movie. And I'll admit, I'm saying this because I did this. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, but as a kid, I didn't read a lot of comics. I didn't have access to a lot of them. So I watched a lot of the movies. And until recently, when I started reading a lot of comics and stuff like that, I actually thought that Amazing Spider-Man 2 was canon in the fact that Peter Parker's parents were like spies and stuff like that. I thought that was real. So that's why I'm saying I know kids are going to watch this movie and be like, oh, this is Joker's origin, and not realize it's really not. Like, it can be, but Joker is one of the people that has a million origins, and you never know which one. Like, getting back into the topic, there's a lot of things that could be his origin. There's a lot of things that could be wrong and different in this movie. Like, there's a shot at the end when he's in the psych ward, which could be Arkham, and he's talking to that lady. The scene mirrors the beginning a lot. Like, it mirrors when he's with like his therapist at the beginning of the movie, which could mean this entire thing was him in a psych ward. You know, like, none of this ever happened because he was admitted because he was insane. That's another thing. It's another possibility. And then, okay, getting back on track. Actually, I can't even say getting back on track anymore. There's like 4 different tangents I stopped. But another thing I wanted to discuss is when he goes into Susie's apartment, he walks out. She tells him to leave. They do whatever. He keeps sitting there, and then there's ominous music, and you see him walk out. I didn't think about it at first. I just assumed, okay, he's walking out. Because the next scene is him starting to, like, plan some stuff, do whatever. I was like, okay, it's setting up the new scene. But did he kill her? He might have killed her. You never see her in the movie ever again. From that point on, she's never in the movie. Which she doesn't have to be. She serves no purpose to be in the movie after that. But the fact that she's not in it, the music kind of started to swell. I think there was like faint sirens in the background, which wouldn't really make sense. It's not like they would immediately know a murder took place. But I think it's interesting. And the fact that even Todd Phillips doesn't even want to make a sequel, which I'm okay with. I walked out of the theater and it was a heated argument between me and my friends. Like, my friend wants a sequel. I don't. I do not want a Joker sequel. I think this movie is almost perfect. I think this movie is amazing. It's not a masterpiece, but it's like a masterclass of its genre. I don't think it can be replicated. I think this was good because it was the inner mechanizations of someone's mind dripping into insanity. If he's already insane, what is there to tackle? Yeah, I would like to see him fight Batman or something, because they set up Batman in this. But I think that's more of like tying up loose ends than it is setting up for a new movie. Because they said Joaquin Phoenix is not Robert Pattinson's Joker. They said Joker will not get a sequel. So take with that as you will. Now, but getting back to the TV scene, I really like when he's arguing with Murray, and he's talking, and he's like, he says something, and he's like, all right, Joker, tell us a joke. And he says like this really like dark joke. He says, knock knock, who's there? Not your son, because he got hit by a drunk driver. And it's one of those, like, that kind of hit me a little bit. That's a lot of things in this movie. In retrospect, a lot of things in this movie aren't as hard as when they hit, because they hit hard. And I'll say something in a minute that hit. So they're all like, dude, you can't say that on live TV. That's not the kind of jokes we make. Whatever. He's like, all right, I got another one. He's like, no, I think you're good. And he says I think his monologue was, what do you get when you cross a mentally insane person with a society, and then they're like, get what you fucking deserve, and he shoots him. And I was like, I actually like exclaimed like fuck in the theater. Like, I'm not kidding, I did. It was insane. That got me. From the moment the movie started, I knew that was gonna happen. Like, I knew that's what they were gonna do. But when he shot him, it got me. Like, I was like, yeah, they did that. It was just sudden. It was like one of those things that just kind of happened, and it really got me. So I think that's all I have really to talk about. I know I'm missing a lot, and there's a lot of tangents I never really went back to, but I'm going to be making like a video essay on this movie. So stay tuned for that. I'll be addressing a lot of the theories and a lot of the problems with the movie, a lot of things I liked about the movie and everything like that. So comment down below. Let me know, did you like Joker? If not, why not? If you did, why did you like it? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace out.